Also from me, a good evening to everybody, and I have the honor to announce our first speaker now, Tristan Weddigen. He's coming to us from Zurich tonight. He is professor at the University of Zurich and specialized actually in the early modern period, but also 18th and 19th century. And I think he has published widely on issues we are dealing with tonight, but from a cultural theorist, art historian perspective. And I'm very curious to learn how this will connect with what we just heard.
Thank you, Elke, and thanks to the organizers for inviting in Dilettanti. And I will speak here, an art historian, of course, and I will speak more about art and about architecture, but I think that design is the middle field between architecture and the traditional concept of art. So I guess that we will deal with similar problems, and I hope that I can give some critical annotations to art projects in space. One of the two questions Barbara Imhoff asked us was retrospective, and was how did the landing on the moon change our perception of the world and the production of artists, architects and designers in the past 40 years? And the other one was a prospective one. Will a landing on Mars have a similar impact on our culture? Now, of course, these are important and wide-ranging questions, and in my short speaking time, I will limit myself to presenting one art project on Mars, which shall show how artists can offer intellectually demanding contributions to a cultural reflection on space exploration. Since the beginning of the Apollo program, NASA has put forward the idea that visual arts, especially painting, are expressions of a universal and democratic, somehow democratic language, which would be particularly appropriate for filling the American public with enthusiasm for the expensive space technology. Although the NASA Art program offered scholarships to Robert Rauschenberg, whom you see down on the right, to Norman Rockwell, Laurie Anderson, and others, less famous artists, this abuse of art for the sake of scientific, technological, and political propaganda was doomed to fail, and thus resulted in an art historical fiasco, I think, as the NASA art collection demonstrates. More interesting, I think, is a clandestine art project, the so-called Moon Museum, by Andy Warhol, Robert Rauschenberg again, David Novros, John Chamberlain, Klaus Oldenburg, and Forrest Myers, that consists in a miniature collection of 6 drawings engraved on a plaquette attached to the landing module of Apollo 12. And you see on the right the magnified plaquette, and you see also the humor and the wits of those artists who had their drawings engraved on that plaquette. The only legal work of art on the moon is Paul van Hoydong's Fallen Astronaut, a small aluminium sculpture pathetically mourning the astronauts who died on their mission. Both projects are traditional in the sense, the Moon Museum and the Fallen Astronaut, in the sense that they depend on two conventional concepts and contexts of art, that is, the monument, in this case, and the museum in the other. Other works of art were conceived as interstellar messages to aliens or human beings in the far future, thus having a very remote impact, probably 2 million years. Most famously, of course, the very well-known golden record mounted on the 2 Voyager probes. The scientific naivety of the project, which includes a universal photographic panorama illustrating life on Earth, which is here, this is the 116 pictures included in this disc, and of course there's more messages, greetings from all nations and sounds from Earth. So the naivety somehow is again blatantly manifest in one of the photos showing supposedly typical male and female activities, presenting the artists as a painter, not a photographer or anything else. So here again, this very traditional idea of art as a human, if not male, activity. Since then, it has become almost conventional to add messages for aliens on interstellar probes as a means of public participation, which appears to be somehow banal if it conveys nothing more than a list of thousands of unknown people's names, like on the left side, who signed online, or if it immortalizes just the engineer's family photo, like on the left side. All recent art projects which have come to my attention seem to me to follow the very traditional idea of art, first installed by NASA art program, which affirms that art is about splashing colors and rotating sculptures in 0G, which is an old-fashioned renaissance of abstract art as a universal, supposedly universal language. A major problem for artists certainly was that the space programs, and I think the trailer showed that very well, the space programs, especially landings on the moon, were totally controlled, mediatized, prepared and staged for a global audience, and that art was supposed to re-illustrate those events with low-tech means. So here you see how the whole event is completely dependent on media which at that stage would somehow mediatizing from one to the other, a video being photographed and so on. An example on the left upper part of the screen, and on the lower part, Neil Armstrong practicing how to use camera, and we've seen that also in the trailer. Therefore, it was not the moon or the mission which caught the artist's imagination, but rather the media phenomenon itself, which consisted in a self-reflective system of different cameras as a means of witnessing and authenticating the human presence on the moon. So video cameras and photo cameras catching themselves and building up a human space on the moon's surface, as you can see on the left slide. As an example how artists reacted to that, I show here a project by the Swiss artist Markus Retz, and this project somehow ironizes this self-referentiality of media and tautologically recording each other. Here we have sound and an image replicating each other, which is somehow absurd. But that's somehow a caricature of the visual system installed on the moon.